Welcome to Debbie J's Crafting Corner. Today we are going to convert the city holiday die selection for Christmas, for a Christmas card, into a Halloween card. Okay, I'm going to stop trying to talk creep because I just can't do it. Anyway, I've die cut out pretty much all of the pieces, and we're going to assemble this not the traditional way and not the way that this lovely die set was actually designed for, but I was in the mood for Halloween, so we're going to do some Halloween. I'm using the Simon Hurley brick. I think that's what it's called. Anyway, it's a brick wall. Wonderful. I'm going to use that and some dark inks to kind of add a little bit of texture to my main panel that I had cut out of some red cardstock. So this is the shape of our building. This is the shape of our 3-story apartment building. And I'm starting off with some bee sting and just a little bit of weeping willow because I thought, that'll probably look good. And let's just see how that turned out. So this isn't quite what I was looking for, so I'm going to add another layer of ink down and see if I can get all of that detail a little bit darker. Okay, now that looks better. I do like that. I die cut out all of my bits. One of the things is this window. So the window dies have the shape of the window. It's also got where you can cut out the panes, and I think that is fabulous. I did use the main part of the die to cut out both the background that's out of this creepy spider web and out of some red to make some curtains. And to make the curtains, all I did was just trim up at the bottom to make it all jaggedy and spooky. Then I'm just layering that right over the spider web, and that's going to make some perfect windows. And I get to customize those window curtains. I've got 3 different versions that I put on there. And then, of course, I'm going to put the black window frame over the top. Next, I just created all of my little windows. So I've got 9 windows on here. That's what the dies basically create. Plus you've got a door, plus you've got a big picture window for the front. We'll get to that one in a second. First off, I'm just putting together all of my little windows. What I'm finding is as I'm creating, I just play and just keep on moving on. And as I go, I have more ideas. So don't be afraid to play. Look at that picture window. I love that. It is so cool. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and get all of our windows put in. Correction, I realized that there were some things I wanted to do first. So I'm going to put this crown molding kind of piece up at the top that's going to be for our roof. I did that in some black. And then we've got this other piece that's for the bottom, same kind of thing that I'm also doing in black. Actually, I think it was the same piece. Anyway, I put it on there twice. And then I'm going to put on the door. Now the door, the die actually, just like the window, just like the big picture window, it cuts out the frame and then it cuts out the piece that goes on the inside. And what I decided to do here is I like this little doggy, so I am cutting off part of my dog. Yeah, I want him to stick out of that window, out of that door. So I'm gluing him in place. I've kind of got a little bit of ideas because one of the fun things is if you start just cutting some things out and arranging them, the ideas will come. So we've got this cute little dog poking his head out. And guess what? The dog die is actually backwards. It was cut out to go the opposite direction, and I just switched him around because I wanted to be peeking out that door. Next, we're putting all of our little windows in. Some of them have curtains, some of them don't. But wait, you are going to love what I do with all of those windows coming up. This is just so fun. Oh my goodness. I had so much fun putting this card together. Now, while I thought that the dog was cute, I really love that little cat. There is a cat that just basically sits on the windowsill. So I cut a bunch of them out. But before I put them on, I got to show you an idea I have. This is from the Country Snowman. I took the sign cut it out of some brown cardstock, and I made little planks to go across some of those windows so that it looks like it's boarded up. So perfect. Absolutely loved it. All you need is brown cardstock, and you can always use a little bit of distress ink if you want to kind of distress that a little bit. I didn't do that. I'm just adding all the little bits on. I've got some black cut out of the piece that's for the snow to give a little bit more dirt texture down at the bottom. I added the little windowsill to the big picture window and just adding the bits on. So right now I'm just adding on that dirt on there, and then I'm adding on a bunch of first the threshold, and then I'm going to add on a bunch of those kitties, because aren't they just friggin' adorable? Okay, I lied again. I think the kitties are cute, but I keep on having ideas that I want to go behind the cats. And one was, how about some little eyeballs showing out through those windows? So I added some in with a red paint pen that I've got that's from Sharpie. Then I started adding all of my, finally adding the kitties, adding the little kitties on there. And all you have to do to make them face different directions is just flip the die cut over. You can do it either direction. After putting one down, I decided, I really want to board up more of those windows. So I boarded up another window. This is just going to make this house look like it is, well, this building look like it is abandoned and creepy, and I'm going to go with haunted. So now that all of those are done, I decided we need a sentiment. So I'm picking out one of them from the 13 Days of Craftoween stamp set. And I figure that picture window is perfect for that. It's the perfect size. So let's add a sentiment on there. Now, during Craftoween, loved it, I've been doing a lot of heat embossing. Believe it or not, heat embossing for Halloween. And I am going to make sure that I'm using my anti-static powder tool more often. So I use mine from Rabbit Hole Designs. I'm taking some Gina K white pigment ink, and I'm going to stamp with that. And then we're going to emboss with gold. The gold embossing powder that I'm using is what I have in my stash. I've had it for a while, and it's just some stuff I've got from Recollections. I will probably, looks like I'm almost done with this jar. Yay! I will probably be upgrading from that before too long, so that'll be fun. So now that I've got the powder on top of that white ink, yeah, the white ink is basically, it's nice and sticky, and it lets me see it better than embossing ink tends to do. So now I'm just going to take my WAGNER heat tool and just hit it with the heat tool until it gets all nice and gold and shiny. So I'm just going to wipe off all of that extra powder from the anti-static powder tool and just go ahead and install this inside that frame that was cut from the same die. So we're going to go ahead and put that onto our building, and our sentiment part is done. But wait, we're not done with assembling this lovely building. Okay, now that the building's done, we're going to do what I do on most every cart, and that is put some foam on the back of the panel so we can put it on this fun spiderweb background. I did leave a little bit hanging off the end of that card, so I just snipped that off with my scissors. I'm trying something I hadn't tried before, and I'm going to try to emboss over a pin. I did a little test, and it seemed to work. So we're going to go back over those little red eyes and go with a black marker, a black pen rather, while it is still nice and wet there. Looking to see if I have any extra. If I do, it's okay, because Halloween is a time to experiment, right? So let's see how those do and see if I can get some glowing gold eyes out of the window. I love that. Okay, now I got to go back and do each of the other ones. I never thought of trying to emboss over a black gel pen before. And I was just thinking this card, while fabulous, needed just something a little bit more. Oh, that is just too cool. Okay. We're going to put more little eyes in the other windows, like this one right beside the kitty. And I think I'm going to give... Well, I might give the dog in some eyes too, but I think I'm going to do those in regular black instead of making it all gold. Okay, this one I do need to get a... There is some... Let me see. Let go. There is some embossing powder that's stuck there because that was where I had some glue. So let's get rid of the excess, right? At least some of the excess. I don't mind if there's a little bit, but don't want it to be all over the thing. Okay, third set of eyes. Ah, and this is fabulous. I don't know what you guys think, but having those little eyes peeking out of those windows and having them brighter like that, I think that works wonderfully. You could do this also with white if you wanted to. I am sticking with this gold. I have a couple more eyes right here looking out in between the slats. And of course, this would be better if we did it before doing all of the assembly. It does look like somebody is looking out the window. Oh my goodness. Did I put any? I think I'm going to put them in all of the windows just because. Let's do a couple of them up here. Like the little cat doesn't know what's going on. And then down here. Okay. My thought was actually to add some gold in other places just as an accent, but this has worked so much better. And this one I didn't really get. Look at that. That is so cool. I have to do these over again because it looks like I didn't actually pick up, which means I probably didn't put enough. Now you can see it. So as long as it is still wet, as long as the ink is still wet on there, you should be able to pick it up. Let's get another last couple of eyeballs. That is fabulous. I love this card. Isn't that just so cool? Oh my goodness. I'm going to use that technique again. Anyway, I wonder what else I could come up with to do with this card. I love doing Halloween crafting. It is the perfect time to pull out those techniques you haven't tried in a while and experiment and play. So let's check out this other video where I'm using some other techniques for some more Halloween cards.